All the pros do it, your favorite producer does it, your next door neighbor does it, your grandma probably does it. Hey guys, Dilby here. Welcome back to the channel. We're here in my studio in Berlin. Today I've got an awesome video for you, and what we're going to be talking about is loops. Is it okay to use them? Is it cheating? Do the pros do it? Will my music sound like everyone else? Will I get cancelled? Well, spoiler alert, the answer to all these questions is no, it's not cheating. Yes, you can use loops. Totally fine. All the pros do it. Your favorite producer does it. Your next door neighbor does it. Your grandma probably does it. But with that in mind, I think it's really important to make sure that you're doing it in a creative and unique way. And using these simple techniques that I'm going to show you, you can elevate the loops, make them your own, and make them stand out in your production. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell, and drop us a like on the video. It really helps the YouTube algorithm and helps other people find these videos. Anyway, enough of that, let's get into it. So my first tip is using the volume envelopes to kind of sculpt the loop and make it your own. Make sure that you're just using the sounds from the loop that you need in your track. I'll also show you another quick tip to clean up your loops and get them tight and punchy. Okay, so here we are inside Live. What I've done is made a very simple little beat. Now I've also found this top loop and this percussion loop that I would like to add. So it's got a really nice groove and swing and kind of makes the beat a lot more interesting, but it's quite hectic and it kind of overpowers the main core beat that we've got there. And I'll show you a super simple way to kind of fix that and make it sit in the track nicer. So all we're going to do is come down here to the sample section. We need to have it in beats mode, and we click on to preserve transients. So that's going to make sure that the transients punch through, and what we're going to do is shorten the envelope from each of these transient markers. It's going to basically like pull in the sample that it lets play. So we click to this forward arrow with the line. I really don't know the name of these, so if anyone does, please let me know in the comments. So let's have a listen to this by itself. So there's the sample as it is, and we pull this down. There you go, instant minimal. So as you pull it down, it gets tighter and snappier, right? This is really great for getting rid of reverb and stuff that's often on loops. I'm going to start pulling it down, and you'll just hear that it really starts to kind of sit in place in the track. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is this percussion loop. And you can hear it's got some nice percussion in the bottom, but it also has a lot of high-end frequency stuff that's really conflicting with this other top loop that we've got. So when you're using loops, it's really important to kind of make them work together. We're going to go into the envelope editor, hit here, envelopes, clip, and volume. Now when we listen to this percussion loop, so we're not interested in the shakers or the hats or the clap or anything in the high frequency. It's just this kind of groovy percussion beat that I want. Click on envelopes, clip, volume, and I'm going to start getting rid of the hits that we don't need. Now when you zoom in, you can grab these little nodes here and edit the envelope. Okay, so now we can just take this envelope, Command D, and duplicate it. I think there's going to be a little hit here. So let's just EQ it a little bit. So in solo, you can still hear the hats and stuff there, but they're not going to be loud enough that they're going to conflict with the rest of the drums. So now our beat is just grooving away nicely, and it doesn't sound cluttered, and it doesn't sound like there's too much stuff in the high frequencies. And when you have that there, it starts to sound really mushy, and that's not what we want. We want our beats to be tight and punchy. So tip number 2 is to make sure that you're pitching your loops up and down. This could be like a melodic loop to take something that's not in the key of your track and make it fit with your track melodically, or tuning your percussion fit in your track. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is pitching loops. These loops are available to anyone and everyone, right? So everyone can get their hands on them. What we don't want is to have like a melodic loop, especially something that's kind of a theme of your track that sounds exactly like someone else's track. If I'm searching for a melodic loop to use in my track, I will always search for something that's not in the key of the track that I'm writing. So for example, this track is in F minor, and I found these 2 loops here, one's in G minor and one's in E minor. So these loops are not in the key of the track, but they're quite close, which means that when we pitch them, it's not going to degrade the audio too much. So let's have a listen to how these sound. So we can see that that's out of key with the bass line. So all we're going to do, make sure this is on complex, pitch it down 2 semitones to F minor. Now let's check out this one, which is a chord stab. So that sounds awful when we throw it in there because it's clashing with the rest of the melodic loops, right? So we pitch that up 1 semitone. And now it's working with the rest of the... So that shows you how easy and effective it is to do with melodic content. But let's have a look at percussive content. We've got this clave loop here. So first up, I do not want the snares in. So I'm just going to pull the envelope down. So I can hear that this clave is out of key with the track. But one way we can check that is using the notes preset in Spectrum. So we just play it, put our mouse over here, and we can see that it's playing a D, that the fundamental frequency of this percussion sound, this clave sound, is D. We can just nudge that up 1 semitone to be playing a D sharp, which is going to be in the scale of F minor. So now that just fits in perfectly with the rest of the elements in the track. So tip number 3 is basically taking your loops and using them as an inspiration source for creating MIDI that you can then use on another instrument. This can be done with melodic loops, percussive loops, and you can use that as a source for drums or synths. Okay, so our next technique is basically using a melodic sample source to create melody or extract MIDI. Live has this built-in way of doing that. You can just right-click on an audio sample and go convert melody to MIDI track. This is what it comes up with. So let's have a listen to the bass line. And this is what Live say it's doing. It's kind of gotten confused with the side chaining on this bass and decided that it should put in some extra notes and things. I'm not a huge fan of this melody to MIDI converter. So the way that I do this is we go to the loop, and again we use the notes preset from Spectrum. Okay, so we can see that that's just playing the same note. So what we can do is actually pitch the sample up 12 semitones. It's going to sound worse for now, but it's going to give us a much clearer representation of what note it's playing. So that's clearly playing an F now. So we can hear that that's playing like one longer F, a very short one, and then a medium one, and there's some sidechain happening. So with that information that we've just extracted, we can basically go and recreate that MIDI clip. Okay, so we've got a MIDI clip here, and let's just draw in these notes. And we can see basically here if our notes are in the right place. Alright, so now with the original bass line, and with our own bass line. So basically we've used melodic loop and we're using it as a source of inspiration. We know that it works well with the track, but we're adding our own twist on it by designing the sound. So then this becomes something that's our own, something that someone else is not going to have. And the last tip that I've got for you is basically to just take the loop and process it like crazy. Glitch it up, make it different, make it unique. It's basically like an inspiration source to create something unique and almost random that's going to fit in your track. Maybe it's a background texture, some unique percussion sounds that are going to really give you that signature sound that you're looking for. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a couple of ways to use percussion loops with some effects to kind of create some nice textures. This is great for minimal stuff. We've got this percussive loop. It's kind of like a full top loop. Okay, so we're going to just bring down the envelope, get it nice and short. Now I'm going to go to audio effects, and first thing we're going to try is just the auto filter, and we're going to turn that to a bandpass. Chuck it around here, bunch of resonance. So you can see that that's starting to get that kind of like really cool groovy minimal vibe. What we could do there is throw on an echo, open up the highs a bit, cut out some of the lows, and add some sidechain. So that was super easy, just a few little things to create like this really unique, interesting texture for the background of the drums. Another thing we can do is to add in the Ableton resonator. There's a cool preset called Berlin, and we'll change this to F, the key of our track, and let's take a listen to that. Instantly like a deep groovy melody that came from this. So if we open up the envelope a bit more, turn the resonator back on, now there's a bunch of other plugins you can use for this type of thing. Beat Repeat, obviously, also some third-party ones such as D-Blue Glitch, Tantra, Tornado. They're all quite cheap, so maybe look at investing 20-50 bucks in one of them and just get in there and have some fun. As you can see, it's super easy to make something that's kind of unique and interesting with just the click of a couple of buttons. Alright guys, there we have it. Hopefully those techniques can provide you with some inspiration and get you using your loops in more creative ways. If you found this useful, then make sure you hit the like button, and if you've got any other tips that you want to share with the community about how you process loops, then chuck them below in the comments. All the loops in this tutorial are from my new sample pack, Underground Shades of House, which is linked below in the description if you're interested in finding some top quality loops for your tracks. What I'm doing at the moment on my Instagram is if people send me a video or tag me in their story with tracks that they're working on using my loops, then I'm reposting them in my story. So if you want to do that, it's @DilbyDJ. I really look forward to hearing what you're working on, and I'll keep an eye out for you in my DMs. Alright, so that's it for today guys. Good luck with your productions. We'll talk soon. Peace.